And good evening, everybody. Hope you can hear me properly. Been mucking around with microphone settings, possibly using a new microphone next week. So I had to put everything back how it was for the last few weeks. Welcome to another stream here. If you're new here, I'm late to the beer party. If you're not new, you're coming back. Welcome back. Thanks for returning. How are you doing? Wherever you are in the world. Coming from the UK at the moment, it's really quite bright. Late of an evening, this sort of time of year. It's going to be near black by the time I'm done, so you're going to see the lights slowly fade as the stream goes on. Yeah, hope you're all doing okay. We're here, hopefully, going to finish off Snatcher for Mega CD. I've been playing this the last few weeks. It's a heck of a lot shorter game than what I last played, which was Dragon Age Origins and Awakening. I actually forget how short this game was. The amount I played it back in the day. Yeah, loved it. And I've actually found out it looks like I'm the only person in the world streaming this game at the moment. And there's not really a lot of content you can create with the game. There's the story, there's the hidden stuff that's in there. But yeah, I think for my streams it's about an 8-hour game. I think if you know what you're doing, you can get it done in probably about 4 hours, and that's mainly due to cutscenes, a lot of which are going to be this evening. So hope you enjoy sitting, watching, and listening to a lot of dialogue, because that's what Kojima likes to give us. But anyway, let's get over to the game screen. Yeah, that's the right one. And yeah, we left it last week at the crossroad between Act 2 and Act 3. The original game, when it came out in 1988, I think it was completely missing Act 3. They didn't have enough time to finish everything off, and Kojima and his team decided it was better to leave the game with one heck of a cliffhanger and actually do the game properly than release a game that was rushed. And I can kind of respect them for doing that. It wasn't until the PC Engine version came out in 92, I think it was, that it actually got the proper ending. And then that version got ported over to the Mega CD, which is the version I'm playing here. And yeah, they did a complete final chapter for it, which is mostly cutscenes and plot exposition and things. There's not a whole lot of gameplay in the final section. That's one of the reasons why I think it's going to be relatively short to get through. Hello there. How you doing? Yeah, so let's make a start with this, shall we? Let's unpause the emulation. And there's going to be a lot of plot exposition at the beginning of this chapter. I recall there being not much interaction until until we leave the HQ. And actually, just as a plot recap, Gillian joins the Snatcher force the Junker force. Seems crazy they left it on a cliffhanger like that. Yeah, it's one of the darkest cliffhangers I've ever seen. But they didn't really have much of a choice. It was either do that or rush the game. So I respect them for the decision they made. Yeah, Gillian joined the Junker squad to investigate the Snatchers. Apparently that had something to do with his lost memories. And he takes on the investigation after Jean-Jacques Gibson, who was the best junker that they'd ever had, following his footsteps, finding out all the stuff that he'd investigated, and identifying a couple of Snatchers, including the ones that killed Jean, and eventually finding the hospital where they've been dealing with their skin cancer, because apparently the artificial skin is so susceptible to skin cancer. If they go out in even the slightest kind of daylight, they will get deadly amounts of skin cancer very, very quickly. So they're having to treat this. We find the hospital, and we discover that they've managed to get about 6 months away from developing a new artificial skin, possibly even sooner than that. Unfortunately, even though Gillian had the assistance of a very capable bounty hunter named Random Hajil, Random got killed in the hospital when he blew himself up in an attempt to try and get Gillian out. Finding out that the chief of the Junker operations was a Snatcher as well, that caused a bit of a problem. The chief ended up killing Harry, the engineer. Almost killed Mika as well, the receptionist. Yeah, that was a really harrowing end. And pretty much they just left it, the ending for the original game. I don't actually know if the ending for the original game had the phone call from Jamie, Gillian's wife. Because she called in saying that she's finally got all of her memories back, and she's horrified by what she now remembers. And that's when the Snatcher appears behind her, saying that they just need her help for a short while, and what did they say? They're keeping her at the Kremlin. Now, being that this is set in Neo Kobe, a city that was built in the Bay of Kobe, and the Kremlin being in Russia, that raises a few weird questions. There's been references to Russia throughout. Every time that we've found evidence of someone being a Snatcher, there's been something relating to Russia there, which is something that's raised a few questions. The video phone call ended, and we're just left with that situation. Gillian and Mika are the only ones left in the organisation. Harry's gone. The chief was months gone because he was snatched. Jean's also dead because he got killed. So things aren't looking great. And that's pretty much where we pick up from. So on to Act 3. Here we go.
With the start of this year's Kyoto Summit just 3 hours away, the delegates from the participating countries are beginning to arrive at the conference center. A major poll of domestic and international opinion, carried out just last week, shows that the vast majority of respondents favor a complete quarantine of Neo Kobe as a means to combat the risk of the Snatcher menace.
Now that the Chief's death has been confirmed, it won't be long before they strip us of our Junker authorization.
They will be deciding how to handle Neo Kobe at the summit in just 3 hours.
There are rumors that they're going to use nukes on the city to make sure the Snatchers are wiped out.
That's ridiculous. Come on, this is the 21st century.
That may not be as improbable as it seems. The world's leaders are extremely concerned about the Snatcher problem.
The Chief was going to calm this hysteria in his speech at the summit, but that'll never happen now.
3 months ago, government pressure on Junker operations increased dramatically. Gillian's transfer here was really our last chance.
Our own chief was snatched. It's not too surprising they don't want to trust us anymore.
I've heard that the Army and FBI are going to take over operations now.
That's correct. That too will be officially decided in 3 hours' time.
3 hours, eh? Is there any way we can find their hideout in that time?
If we don't, we and everybody else in this city are finished.
As far as they're concerned, we're just like a cancerous tumor that has to be cut out.
We have to hit the Snatchers' headquarters before then.
Gillian, can you do it?
If we only knew where it was, I should be able to manage something.
Hitting their outposts like Queen's Hospital won't do any good. We have to find their main nerve center.
What about the memory of that Snatcher who was impersonating the chief?
Just like the others, it was completely blanked. It's a form of self-destruct mechanism that they use.
Wait a minute. Mental. What about tracing that video phone call from Jamie?
It was no good. The call didn't last long enough. Still, it definitely did come from within the city.
Damn. Where are they hiding?
Gillian, can't you remember anything at all? Didn't Jamie say something that implied you were somehow connected to the Snatchers?
Nothing. I can't remember a damn thing. Metal, I want you to tell me everything you know about me. Why was I sent to Junker headquarters? Where did I come from?
Gillian...
Metal, the chief's dead. Tell me everything you know about me.
Well, you see...
Metal!
All right. With the chief gone, you are the highest-ranking officer here.
You knew all along?
Of course.
Where were we rescued from?
3 years ago, you and Jamie were taken into protective custody in the Siberian Neutral Zone by the 17th Siberian Investigative Force. More precisely, You were discovered in cryogenic sleep pods in an underground bunker near Moscow.
Cryogenic sleep pods? You mean they were frozen?
This is a photograph of the bunker. There is no record of when you were placed there. In addition, the third pod was empty at the time you were discovered.
There were 3 pods?
You were revived and taken into custody by the army. Apparently, as a result of the extended sleep, both of you suffered from complete amnesia. However, another theory suggests your memories may have been intentionally erased. This is the only piece of evidence found at the site.
That's Harry's picture, from when he was a kid.
That's correct. Harry is Gillian and Jamie's son. It's been confirmed by DNA tests.
Harry? Harry was my son?
Using the information gained from the photo, it was established that you are Gillian Seed and your wife, Jamie Lorraine. Both of you are American citizens, born in the late 1960s.
The 1960s?
In addition, both of you vanished without a trace in 1989. There is no other information available about you after that.
1989?
Yes, you come from a world that's been gone for 50 years.
But what does that have to do with the Snatchers?
When the 17th Special Investigative Force was bringing the two of you out, there was an accident. Though the two of you were all right, most of the 17th was killed. One of them was a Snatcher. Of course, before their departure, they all underwent thorough examinations. So, if one of them was snatched...
It had to be somewhere in Siberia, right?
That's correct. And in order to attempt to determine the origin of the Snatcher, as well as your true identities, you were assigned to Junker headquarters. The hope was that exposure to the Snatchers would help you regain your memories.
Moscow? 50 years ago?
Almost everyone who was in Moscow at the time was killed in the catastrophe.
So Gillian and Jamie are the only living witnesses?
Harry was my son. Did he know?
No. It was highly classified information. He was never told.
I was never able to do anything for him.
Wait a minute, Gillian. Didn't Jamie say something about taking a boy hostage?
That's right. They must know about Harry and are using him to threaten her.
We have to find their headquarters quickly.
We've only got 3 hours.
Gillian, let's think this all through again. We may get some kind of a hint out of it.
You're right. There may be some clue in the way they're operating.
All right. Let's go over what we know about them.
Here's some of the gameplay. Right. Personal Snatcher's weak point. Yeah, not a huge amount of interaction here, but it does serve as a way to give you at least something to play with. Ultraviolet rays, I think it was. This is another weak point. The weak point is the defective artificial skin. Long-term exposure to ultraviolet rays causes mutations in their melanocytes in the stratum bacille, or bacilli, or however you pronounce it, of the skin, which become cancerous. Specifically, long-term ultraviolet rays in the 250 to 350 nanometer range is responsible for causing the cancer. That's right. And that's the reason they're so limited as to when they can be out. They only come out at night in the middle of winter and wear sunscreen even then. That's the method that Jean used to figure out what the Snatchers were up to. Ironic, turns out that the destruction of the ozone layer actually had a benefit for us humans. Right. Now the method of using... Now, what method were they using to move and be able to avoid ultraviolet rays and sunlight at the same time? It was... underplus... It wasn't black taxis outside, same with Turbocycle, and the highways, they're probably overground, so underpass sounds like... I don't know about the rest of the world, but in the UK an underpass is more of just a short section underground. It's the old underground train systems that are now disused in Neo Kobe. So, although, and I don't recall this being the answer, but it's the method moving. Yeah. They're using the abandoned tunnels of the old tube liner system to get from place to place. That's how they're able to move around without being noticed. Nielsen's apartment, the old factory, Queen's Hospital, all of their hideouts were connected by the tube liner. So maybe there's a tunnel under their main base as well. Ooh. There's a good chance of that. Next, what phenomenon was always observed in any location where the Snatchers appeared, including the underground tunnels? Well, that would be the sneezing from the Stone 9, if I remember correctly. That's right. And what is the cause of sneezing? Snow 9. Artificial pollen, developed by the military. Its presence is limited to certain regions. They were using it to interfere with radio transmissions and keep people away. They probably were producing it intentionally themselves. The only regions of Snow 9, regions of the city where Snow 9 is still present, are areas around the Ina River. It has been cleared out of other areas because of the danger it presents. So that means their base must be somewhere near the Ina River. Okay. Their conclusion? They're probably somewhere near the Ina River, protected by the Snow 9. Okay, access to tube liner and near the Ina River. We mustn't forget the 3 photographs that we found the Snatchers with. All of them related to the Soviet Union before the catastrophe, so before June 6, 1996. The map on the wall of Nielsen's apartment. Picture of the temple in the doctor's office at Queen's Hospital. Now, interestingly, this is the only point in the game where you actually see that entire room lit up, because normally you can only see that with a small torch, because the room's dark and there's no light in there. But yeah, this is the only point in the game where you see the entire room in black and white. So I think you could probably take screenshots of all the different sections under the light and paste it together to make a bigger version, or just do a video RAM dump from the console, because I think a lot of emulators can do that these days. But anyway, yeah, picture of the temple, is it St Basil's Cathedral? I think it is St Basil's Cathedral. Yeah, Queen's Hospital, and the photo of Red Square hidden in the chief's office. Why do the Snatchers keep pictures of memorabilia like this? Maybe they're homesick? Maybe that's where they come from? As it gets serious, Mika, they're robots, you know. Let's analyse this a little closer. What city is related to all 3 of these pictures? It's Moscow. Yeah, they're all things from Moscow. Moscow must be where they come from. Must be the base of their programming. And also Moscow is where Gillian and Jamie were found. That's one of the little details that we were given just a short while ago. They were found in an underground bunker there. 2 of 3 pods. The 3rd pod was empty. So who was the 3rd pod? I'll be right. Just as people have a hometown that is dear to them, their creators may have put a hometown into their programming. They use very advanced artificial intelligence systems, so they may have needed something like that to maintain their emotional balance, which is actually a reference to Blade Runner, because the replicants in Blade Runner needed memories of some kind in order to keep them emotionally stable, because without memories, they developed too quickly and ended up going psychotic as a result. Or at least that's the way Blade Runner worked. Very, very different than the original book, which was Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Would still love to see an adaptation of that done properly. But yeah, Kojima didn't hide the fact that Blade Runner was one of the biggest, one of the 4 biggest inspirations for the game. Yes. Okay, they were born out of nothing, but they needed to give them some kind of an image as an emotional base. Excuse me. Hello there, Tom. Yeah, you've missed a couple of the Yeah, you've missed a couple of the big revelations. If you remember from last week, we saw Chief Cunningham turned out to be a Snatcher. He killed Harry, nearly killed Mika. So at the moment, we've only got Gillian and Mika left. Gillian insisted that Metal tell him everything he knows about Gillian, and one of the big revelations was that, confirmed through DNA testing, Harry, who has no parents to speak of, is actually Gillian and Jamie's son. And Gillian found this out after Harry had died, unfortunately. We also found out that in the opening, where it's explained that Gillian and Jamie were found in Siberia, they were found by one of the Siberian Special Forces, but they weren't found in Siberia. They were found in an underground bunker in Moscow, in cryogenic sleep. And it was also confirmed that they were both born in the 1960s, and all records of where they were disappeared after 1989. Now, Moscow, being the epicenter of the catastrophe, which happened in June of 1996, it raises some questions of why were they in Moscow? They seem to be the only survivors. Because of the Snatcher problem in Neo Kobe, Gillian was sent to the city to join the Junker Squad to investigate to see if it could bring back his memories, because they wanted to know what the heck kind of connection he may have had with them. And we're slowly going through the evidence at this point to try and figure out where the heck their base is. Yeah, also, in the video phone call that Jamie sent at the end of last week's stream, she mentioned about their boy being held hostage. Although, now we know... Yes, so big revelations. I say, we're currently trying to work out where their base is, from what information we've got. We've figured out that the Snatchers have got to be somewhere near the Ina River, which is a river that flows through Neo Kobe. They're also going to be somewhere within Snow 9 areas, and also something in connection with the underground tube network that is no longer used, or that hasn't been used in a long time. Yeah, there's more twists to come. Oh, don't you worry, there's some even bigger twists coming. This is one of the reasons why I love this game. The twists that come through in the final act are quite something. But anyway, let's move on. Oh yeah, this last thing here, Gillian, Mika and Metal are talking about why the Snatchers all seem to have some kind of picture or something that relates to Moscow. And we figured out that's a reference to Blade Runner, where they need memories in order to stay emotionally stable. And that's the same thing with the Snatchers, or at least that's the indication. Yeah, so as Gillian's saying there, they were born out of nothing, but the creators needed to give them some kind of image as an emotional basis. So Moscow is their creator and their home. Place that they found him and Jamie.
In other words, this homing instinct thing of theirs has led them to set up their headquarters in some place that reminds them of home, or their creator.
What part of this city is like Moscow?
Moscow's really cold, right? They get a lot of snow, don't they?
Snow?
No snow has been recorded in Neo Kobe in several years.
Well, then that's not it.
Wait, what about that pollen? That crystal bioengineered stuff, Snow 9?
Now that you mention it, wasn't it snowing on Jamie's video phone call?
That's right. Their hideout has to be somewhere close to the Ina River.
The Ina River flows for miles around here, Gillian. We could never search it all in time.
Gillian, let's look at a map of the areas investigated so far. This is an enlarged view of the southwest portion of the city around the Ina River. This blue area is that in which Snow 9 is present. Now I'll superimpose a chart of the abandoned tube liner tunnels. From this we can establish those areas with Snow 9, which are accessible by subway tunnel.
Damn. Nice try, but it's still too large. We could never cover it in 3 hours.
Don't give up so fast, Gillian. What about that image of home thing we were talking about? Maybe there's some kind of geographic similarity. Maybe the same view can be seen or something.
I'll display a map of Moscow alongside.
What's this?
Look, the rivers are exactly the same shape.
This is the Moscow River over here.
It looks like we're on the right track, Metal. Show us the location that Jamie and I were picked up from.
All right, right here.
Metal, before the catastrophe, what was at this location?
The headquarters for the entire Soviet Union, the Kremlin.
The Kremlin? That Snatcher said something about taking Jamie to their Kremlin.
Metal, what spot in Neo Kobe would match up with the location of Moscow's Kremlin?
Calculating. This is the spot. It's presently occupied by an old church. It's rather large, but reports indicate it's been abandoned for nearly 20 years.
And it's right in the middle of the Snow 9 and subway area.
That's it! That's their headquarters, their new Kremlin.
Gillian, let's go!
Wait, Gillian. I want to go with you.
Sorry, Mika.
Hey, I'm a junker too, you know.
I know, and you're a great one at that.
So take me with you then.
You head to the summit to warn the delegates. They haven't given up, you know.
The summit's in Kyoto. I'm not going to be the only one to run.
You've got to convince them not to use nukes on Neo Kobe.
We found their hideout. There's no need now to sink the whole island.
Yes, but...
It's a tough job. Can you do it?
Okay, Gillian. I'll do what I can.
Thanks. Thank you, Mika.
Don't say it, okay?
Let's go, Gillian!
Gillian?
Yes? What's wrong?
How about dinner sometime?
Dinner?
Yeah, you know, dinner.
Mika.
Not interested. I thought it would be nice, you know, to kick back, relax. It's Christmas after all.
Christmas, huh? I'll be back by then.
Gillian, we have to hurry.
That's a promise, right? I heard you.
Yeah, okay. But I gotta go to church first.
I'll see you soon then.
Okay, Metal, let's go.
The puns. The last turbo cycle. I've still got the options to go and look at everything, haven't I? Right. Hey, now boarding the last turbo cycle that they have access to. Where would we like to go? Of course, you know the answer to that question. Going to church.
I've input the map data on the Kremlin's locations. Lift off. Flight configuration, now gaining altitude.
Jamie, please be safe.
Gillian, please keep in mind that we're working with a strict time limit.
A 50-year debt in 3 hours. Snow!
Snow 9, to be specific. We've entered the Snow 9 region. Please put on your breathing filter. Direct inhalation is dangerous.
All right.
Radio transmissions will also be impossible from this point on. Understood? Now descending. Conversion to hover configuration complete. Gillian, we've arrived.
Right. Let's go and find out what this place is like. Now I know why they call it their Kremlin. Yeah, it's interesting that there just happens to be a church in a similar style, doesn't there? Unless they've redesigned it in some way. Let's have a look at the building. Very old church bears quite a resemblance to St Basil's Cathedral. It was St Basil's Cathedral, yeah. And that is quite a resemblance. No doubt they thought the same thing. Convenient, eh? Right, so look at the snow. It appears to be snow, but it's actually Snow 9. Try to avoid inhaling any of it directly. Look at the area. Surrounded by a large grove of tall cedar trees. Likely just to keep anyway. Given the season, a few Christmas lights really liven up the scene. Okay, let's Investigate the building. The building is about 50 years old, but appears very well maintained. Interesting for a building that's been abandoned for 25 years. Where's the entrance? On the front side of the building. Okay, definitely Snow 9. Okay, look at the area. Sensor scan reveals that the tube liner tunnel passes directly underneath this area. Convenient. No surprise, looks like we got the right place. Oh god, I just misread that bit where it says go inside. My brain said go insane? Yeah. My brain does weird stuff. Right, check the motion sensor. Not showing anything out of the ordinary. Okay, listen. Only sound is out of the wind. Right, let's head inside.
Alright, now opening the door.
What's wrong? Won't open?
I've scanned it, and it's not locked. It is probably rusted into place.
Not surprising. After all, our friends always go in and out through the basement.
Let's push it together.
All right. 1, 2, 3!
That got it.
What's this? Some kind of chapel for the Snatchers. And that's one heck of a weird piece of music. I don't recall it being... Turn that down a little bit for myself. Don't know how bad it is for you guys, but that's another weird one. Not quite as uncomfortable as the one in the that lab, the last stream. God, that was uncomfortable. That those things pray to whom? Well, it's a chapel. What were you expecting to be inside here? No doubt the creator of that portrait on the wall is probably a representation of him. Look at the portrait. The person is no doubt the one the Snatchers worship as their creator. Yeah, this guy, isn't that random? As in random Hajil? Compare the picture with my data of random. While the facial bone structure of the individual in the portrait is nearly identical to that of random, positive identification is impossible as the picture is not a photograph. This looks too much like him to be a coincidence. Let's investigate that portrait. Something's written on the painting, the creator, Modnar. So this is Professor Modnar? The one the Snatcher was talking about. Yeah, Chinshu O, who was the, the executive at the hospital, or the snatched one. He mentioned their creator, Modnar. Appears to be a portrait of that person. Yes, but there's, Yes, weird stuff here, isn't there? These are chairs for worshippers in the chapel, no doubt. Okay. The area. Everything is nice and orderly. It's as if the pre-collapsed Soviet Union has been recreated here. I've actually got a feeling I'm going to get through this before my midway break. I hope that's not the case, because I don't want to end the stream too early. Let's investigate the chairs. There are a number of scratches on the surface. They are almost certainly caused by Snatchers. So the Snatchers actually come here to worship? They actually do that? That seems a bit... it's all very organised, almost inhumanly so. Oh, there's another room further back. I think... Not reading anything at all. Have they already left for the summit? Oh, that's a good question. Just the wind, that's all I can hear. Okay. One thing that I've actually just thought now, I don't know if the game actually has a timer running at this point. Whether if you do genuinely take like 3 hours to get through this, that the city might end up being hit by nukes. I could see Kojima doing that, actually. That is the sort of thing that he would probably do. It's not going to take 3 hours to get through this. I'd have to deliberately take that long. So yeah, let's continue further back. Now moving to the back room. Ominous. Ooh. Look at them all. Not picking up any energy readings, they're all deactivated in some kind of suspension mode. So this is their warehouse then. There must be a few hundred of them back there. They continue all the way back. Still, this doesn't look like a factory. No, it's more of a storage unit. In some ways, it actually looks like a barracks. Doesn't it? Right, let's have a look at these snatchers. These are the endostructures, which have yet to have the artificial skin installed. Bone sizing devices and the skull slits are all still set to their smallest sizes. So their victims haven't been chosen yet. They're all just waiting their turn. Yeah, I can't remember if I missed the information, but one thing they do know about the Snatchers is all the limbs are extendable. They have certain lengths that they can be made, and also on the skull, there's all the different plates can actually be moved around individually, basically to create a different kind of bone structure to match different people. I think there's a point where it's mentioned, it might still be yet to happen, where there's only certain types of people they can go for. Things like people with very strong ethnic appearances, they can't recreate because of how different the bone structure is. It's beyond what the skulls or the artificial skulls were designed to be able to match. That could be something that's yet to be explained. Although the fact I mentioned it there, it may have been an earlier point, I just missed it. Moving on. Look at the area. Seems to be a number of containers stacked up in the back of the room. Okay, look at the containers. What size are these containers? The volume of these containers would be just perfect for shipping one of these Snatchers. This is no doubt how they got here. Okay, investigate Snatcher. None of these Snatchers are damaged. They all need their energy packs. Gender units have yet to be installed. Investigate the area. I don't see any tools or equipment for maintaining anything in the area. This room would be just a storage room. Okay. Investigate the containers. Right, some kind of label. 23rd Siberian Investigative Force. Jamie and Gillian were rescued by the 17th Siberian Investigative Force, who were all killed. One of them turned out to be a Snatcher as well. Siberian Investigative Force. These Snatchers were brought to Neo Kobe from the Siberian Neutral Zone. That's quite a way. Seems the investigative forces have been responsible for shipping Snatchers. So that would indicate that they have all been snatched. In other words, the investigative forces have been snatched. I just said that. Just like when they found us. So the Siberian investigative forces bringing the Snatchers out of Siberia and into storage here. And the Snatchers just wait here in storage to be reactivated and adjusted after their victims are selected. Yeah, quite an efficient system. Wonder where the actual snatching takes place. The back part of this room may have answers to that question. Let's listen more. It's perfectly quiet. Eerily quiet. Now moving further back. Oh, it's that audio again. Thankfully, it's a little bit quieter for me this week. I think I've turned it down a little bit. But yeah, sorry for that audio again. I didn't know it was coming again. Right, hopefully we can get through this room nice and quickly. Snatcher's culturing room. Mechanism is operating. Let's look at the cylinders. There are Snatchers with their artificial skin already installed here. Let's look at the Snatcher process. I think this is another cutscene.
This is where they fuse the artificial skin onto the Snatcher's endostructure. First, they adjust the size of the still skinless Snatcher to the size of the individual who is to be snatched. The Snatcher's overall shape and size can be adjusted by expansion or contraction of sizing rods. Their sex is controlled by gender units, which are installed at this point. Then, the face is modified to match the intended victim by adjusting the size of the upper and lower jaw, cheekbones, temporal bones, and tooth alignment.
Just like Gibson said, that means there are limits to the size of the people that they can snatch.
That's right. The limits of the mechanism mean that they can't snatch children, the elderly, or people who are very tall or heavy. And this is where the artificial muscle's attached.
Is it organic?
No, it appears to be coated with a type of plastic gel capable of mechanical response. Like human muscles, it creates mechanical energy through chemical reactions. And this is where the artificial skin is attached. In order to prevent the synthetic cells, developed using biotechnological protein design techniques, from rejecting the inorganic material below, they attach it gradually over a number of days.
And this is the stuff that gets cancer if they stay out in the sun too long.
Finally, they attach body and scalp hair. The process involves transplant of synthetic hair follicles as well, so the hair will grow back if it's lost.
What about scars or birthmarks?
It would appear that they make those adjustments at this point in the process, as they would for wrinkles to simulate age.
Let's look at the area. Computer terminal is installed on each preservation cylinder. Okay, can I look at the terminals? These terminals must be connected to a host computer, which monitors conditions inside each cylinder. Okay, let's listen. There is no sound except for the soft bubbling of the liquid in the cylinders and that other beeping sound that's really annoying. Investigate. Right, investigate the cylinders. Okay, that's what's been said already. Check the ceiling. But it appears that weak ultraviolet rays are being projected from above. Advance. Way beyond anything. Why would they be projecting ultraviolet rays if they get skin cancer from it? Again. Check the area. The whole area is protected as a clean room. There's a door at the far end of the room. Okay. Check the terminal first. Power's on. The data of people to be snatched is all being neatly processed. Look at the terminal again. Okay. Investigate the terminal. This is the data which they used to generate the artificial skin with. Okay, check the door. It's locked, but I should be able to open it from inside.
So this is where the whole thing begins. The endostructures arrive here from the Kremlin. Then they convert them into copies of their victims. And finally, they head out into the city using the old subway system.
Right. I've got a feeling I've just activated the endgame bit here. So I'm going to save, because the next section is a bit of a gauntlet, if I remember correctly. And I hate to admit it, but whenever I played this before, I always had to put turbo fire on with the gun in order to be able to beat this. So I'm going to try it without. I don't know if this emulator has the ability to do turbo fire, but we'll see. And the lag, the control lag for the game, may be a bit much as well. So it'd be rather embarrassing if I can't complete the game. Although there may be a way to put it into slow motion. But anyway, let's carry on and see where we find ourselves.
With artificial skin maintenance being handled at Queen's Hospital.
But who's behind all this?
Gillian, look at this. There are some finished snatchers over here.
Get a load of this. The U.S. President, the Prime Ministers of Japan, and the U.K.
Gillian, you're in here too.
Figures. They were looking to snatch every VIP at the summit.
And the last junker, you. It definitely looks like they plan on moving out beyond Neo-Kobe.
If they were to snatch every major world leader, they'd practically be able to control the planet. Still, that's odd. With their flawed skin, pulling something off like that would really be difficult.
Chin said they had found the key to developing a perfect artificial skin. Maybe they've already produced it.
No idea. But the number of snatchers here makes it clear that they're up to something new.
Gillian, this is definitely their nest. We should destroy everything.
Not yet. Not until we found Jamie. Metal, how much time do we have left?
The summit should have begun by now. We don't have much time. And once our legal privileges are suspended, I won't be able to help. In fact, I'll be forced to restrain you.
I know. If the military wants to avoid nukes and goes for a surgical strike on this facility, what would they likely use?
Probably a phased particle beam from one of the attack satellites.
A phased particle beam, huh? That'll wipe this complex right off the map.
Everything, including the soil, will simply evaporate. The attack will leave just a large crater.
Metal, can you convince them to give me another hour? Even 30 minutes will help.
Understood. I'll try my best.
And I'll try to find and rescue Jamie in that time.
I can't transmit here due to interference from the Snow 9. I'll have to leave the area and then send the message.
All right. Do it, Metal.
Gillian, don't forget. 30 minutes. You must get out before then.
I understand.
Gillian, I'm sorry I couldn't help you better.
Don't worry about it. I'll be able to move faster by myself anyway. 30 minutes should be plenty. Go, Metal!
Yes, sir. Don't forget, 30 minutes!
"30 minutes? Oh, this is gonna be tight. That room's the only place left to check. Let's take a look."
Right. Gonna save there again because I know what's coming up and I'm not looking forward to this. Yeah. Right. Let's see if there's any options for. I don't think there are any options for turbo fire on this emulator. No. Oh. The annoying thing is that's not the only section that's like that. Just want to double check to make sure I am actually using the right button for loading, because I don't want to accidentally overwrite it. So, oh god.
Whew.
Okay.
I wasn't ready for that. They almost got me. All right, let's open the next door.
Right, I took a lot of hits there, so I'm not going to save at this point in case I think the next one's...
Doesn't look like there's anything here. Whoa!
Oh, this bit's a bit easier. It's nowhere near as fast. Right.
Jeez, these guys are tough. Of course, I didn't exactly expect them to welcome me with open arms. Okay, let's try this next door.
And just for... because I know about this.
Jamie! Jamie! Oh no, what have I done?
And that's why I saved just after that combat. That is actually something they added into this version. I don't think they had it in the PC Engine version. So yeah, it's a nasty game over, especially considering you have to save before the conversation with Metal. So if I reload...
Jeez, these guys are tough. Of course, I
and now,
didn't exactly expect
for the
them to
ending.
welcome me with open arms. Okay, let's try this next door.
There's no interaction from this point on. Well, there is a point later, but just sit back and watch.
Jamie, are you all right?
Gillian, you came for me.
Are you hurt?
No, they won't lay a finger on me. Not until the new artificial skin is completed anyway.
Artificial skin research? You?
Gillian, I've got my memory back. All of it.
What happened? Tell me, Jamie.
They said they'd kill him. They said they'd kill Harry. They forced me. I had to help them with the skin development. They said I had to help them because the professor was ill. Wasn't getting any better. Gillian, the engineer Harry, he's our son. He's been living on his own now for 50 years.
Jamie, I'm afraid that Harry's...
There was nothing I could do. They forced me. But I can't do it anymore.
Jamie!
The professor, he just died. He was over 100.
The professor? What? This old man?
Don't you remember? It's Professor Modner. Professor Petrovich Modner.
What? This old man is Modner?
He's been confined here for 3 years now, just to develop the Snatcher's artificial skin. Terrible. Doing that to your own father.
Whose father? Jamie, I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
You really can't remember, can you?
Jamie, tell me who I am. What were we doing at the Kremlin?
Are you sure you really want me to, Gillian? It's all so awful, but if you must know, I'll tell you. Try to remain calm, okay? 56 years ago, you and I were involved in a top-secret Soviet project. It was still during the time of the Cold War. The gulf between East and West was as wide as ever. Everybody was worried about nukes. At that point, the world's armies were at their largest ever. Leaders still believed that a strong military meant a strong nation. There were rumors that there would be an agreement to end the production of nuclear weapons. On the other hand, the major powers like the US began to get involved in a space weapons race. But not the Soviets. The conservative despots in the Kremlin had another, completely different idea for gaining military superiority. A horrible plan, something no one else would think of. At that time, the countries of the communist bloc were facing an economic crisis. Popular movements pushing for democracy were springing up all over. Communism itself was facing extinction. Facing pressure from the reformers, the Kremlin began to panic. And that's when that horrible, childish plan was launched.
And that was the Snatcher project. Replace your enemy's leaders with puppets of your own. Then you control their governments, their economies, take over a country from the inside out.
That's right, Gillian. And to develop these robots, they assembled some of the most brilliant scientific minds from around the world. Some of them were even brought in against their will. At the crux of that development effort was a group called the Frankenstein Project Team. You and I were members of that team, Gillian. It was a 4-person team led by the late Professor Modner here. The robotics expert was Professor Modner himself. His son, Elijah Modner, handled genetics and microbiology. For nanobiology and picobiology, myself. And for behavioral science and psychology, you, Gillian. Early development was carried out at a lab in Novosibirsk, but was later moved to a secret facility under the Kremlin. At the time, the Glasnost and Perestroika movements were gaining momentum, and they rightly feared for the existence of the program if it should become known. But some of the reformers did learn of the project, and they conspired with the US to block it. Gillian, you were a CIA special agent sent by the United States to infiltrate and sabotage the project.
I was CIA?
Yes, and the government knows that. That's why you were assigned to the Junker team.
What? Who am I?
Work on the project continued to go smoothly. But then, on June 6, 1996, there was that accident. A mysterious explosion at the Chernobyl facility spread a bacterial weapon that was under development there into the atmosphere, destroying the country and the project. Gillian, was it you? Did you set off that explosion?
What? You can't be serious. You think I caused the catastrophe?
Somehow, during the confusion, Professor Modner and our son Harry managed to get picked up by American agents. But we couldn't get out in time, you and I and Elijah. In a shelter below the Kremlin, we entered a cryogenic sleep. Our plan was to sleep there until the toxic effects of the bacteria were safely passed.
And then 48 years later, 3 years ago, we were discovered by the 17th Special Investigative Force.
Yes, but when they found us, Elijah's pod was already empty.
Elijah Modner? That guy whose picture was in the church? The one that looks like Random?
That's right, Elijah is alive! Elijah is here and working on the Snatchers.
Why don't you let me finish your little story?
Who's there?
It's been a while, hasn't it, Jamie? Ah, yes. And Gillian. It's me, Jamie.
Elijah? Is that really you?
Random? No, not quite.
So you remember me, do you? I am Elijah Modnar, the only son of Professor Petrovich Modnar. I'm afraid I've grown somewhat old and feeble since we last met, however.
Elijah, why are you doing this? Your father, Professor Modner, he passed away a few minutes ago.
What? My father? My father is dead?
Elijah, what happened to you? The Elijah I knew could never do anything like this.
I've changed, Jamie. These 40 years have changed me.
I can't believe it. What happened to you?
What happened to me? Jamie, do I actually have to explain it to you? Jamie, it's you. Your beauty is the cause of all that has come to pass here. 57 years ago, I was obsessed. With my research, yes. And with you, Jamie. At the time, I was still young, having just graduated with my genetic engineering degree. My father's connections got me on the team, and there, I met you. You were working as my father's assistant. Your beauty, your smile, I was stricken. I saw something in you that I never felt with women of my own country. You warmed my cold, young heart, Jamie. You opened me up, and I couldn't stop my feelings.
Elijah!
Oh, I was so happy. The political situation was crumbling around us, but every day was a joy. I gained my father's trust, and with you there watching over me, I was able to work as hard as I ever have on the project. However, my happiness did not last for long. Gillian, it was you. You showed up and all was ruined. You arrived and joined our project team. Far from home, Jamie found comfort in a man from the same land. Your relationship grew quickly, and all I could do was stand by and watch. Jamie and Gillian fell in love, were joined, and even had a child.
Harry.
Even then, my feelings for you only grew stronger. Worried about me, my father tried to have me removed from the project, but I persisted. Jamie, I always wanted to be near you. And then, the democratic movements that had consumed the rest of the Eastern Bloc spread to our country as well. The Cold War was over. The hardliners who had pushed for its development were stripped of power and the project was cancelled. The reformers, trying to cover up the existence of such a crazed project, ordered that all materials related to it be destroyed and that we stand trial for our actions. Jamie and Gillian were to be returned to their homeland. That's about the time that I learned that you, Gillian, that you were a CIA agent, and that you were trying to pass documents on our research to your military. The country had sold us out. I'm no politician. I couldn't care less about what happened to the country. All I cared about was my research and Jamie. And I was to lose all of that, everything. For someone so young, you cannot understand how great of a shock that was.
Elijah.
That is when I decided, I swore I would see that secret crazed project through to the end. At the time, the bioroids were 80% finished. The main part, their endostructure, was essentially completed. But we still were having trouble with the artificial skin, the area that Jamie and I were assigned to. We called it artificial skin, but there was of course no need to duplicate T lymphocytes, Langerhans cells, or endocrine cells. All we needed was keratinized cells and melanocytes to provide the pigment. With the artificial protein development techniques that we had in those days, full-scale synthetic cell development was very difficult. Research like this took months, years. The original project called for us to simultaneously snatch an entire country. In other words, a whole nation, or an entire city, had to be snatched over the course of one night. For that reason, a powerful biological agent, which could quickly and effectively kill the population of the country, was being simultaneously developed.
Lucifer Alpha.
That's right. A type RAO11 virus which another team was developing. For someone like myself, who was closely involved in the project, blowing up the lab was quite a simple task.
My God, Elijah, do you know what you're saying? That explosion killed half the world's population.
I moved all the materials and records essential to the Bioroid project into the shelter and executed my plan on June 6th. After sealing off the lab, I brought the two of you with me to the underground shelter, and we entered a cryogenic sleep. But not before I programmed an atmospheric research satellite to transmit a wake signal when the danger from Lucifer Alpha had passed.
And 10 years later, Lucifer Alpha naturally mutated into a non-toxic form.
But the automatic revival system failed to work.
Oh no, it worked. Just as planned. It revived me 10 years later. A little sooner than the two of you, of course.
But even though you sealed the lab with the explosion and everything, you should have been exposed. Why weren't you?
Oh, I was. But by that time, the vaccine L Angels had already been developed.
So everything went just as you planned it then?
Yes, up until that point. But my real struggle was yet to come. My original plan was to revive Jamie as well, and for the two of us to finish the development of the bioroids. You, Gillian, you were to stay asleep forever. But I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Not after looking at Jamie's peaceful face there in the pod. Besides, I could never have convinced her to work with me on the project anyway. I knew the time was not yet right, so I changed the timers of your pods to permanent on.
How? How could you do such a thing?
And so for the next 40 years, I worked alone in that cold and lonely room under the Kremlin, trying to complete the artificial skin for the Snatchers. For days and days, no one would visit me. I never saw the sun or felt the changing of the seasons. Still, I always had Jamie by my side. You were always there for me to talk to. Just you and I for 40 years in that dark cellar.
Oh, you poor, poor man.
And then, 3 years ago, my research was finally completed. First, I snatched the Siberian Special Investigative Forces to establish a transport route for the Snatchers. And then, to test the effect of large-scale snatch operations, I chose Neo-Kobe City to be my experimental sample. Neo-Kobe is cut off from the surrounding areas, a sort of miniature country in itself, making it a perfect test site. And since it's a melting pot of various races, it would also allow me to gather extensive data on Snatcher modification and operational techniques. In addition, the element of suspicion or mistrust, which runs deep in Japanese culture, was another reason I chose this site.
But your test revealed a critical flaw in your machine's artificial skin.
Yes, quite unexpected, I'm afraid. All my research for 40 years. I gathered data and worked day and night to find a solution, but nothing seemed to work.
So that's why you decided to bring Professor Modner here, right?
That's correct. I discovered my father in one of the government's hospitals. He was old, but still very sound of mind. Naturally, he would not cooperate with me.
Of course not. He'd never become involved in something like that.
So, unable to receive his assistance, I decided that I had to have yours. But a mistake on my part allowed both you and Gillian to be taken into custody by the authorities first.
Just what are you trying to accomplish, Elijah? You must know you can never get Jamie back.
I'm only interested in discovering what I can of the human animal. In the past, it was because of Jamie. My motive is different now.
It sounds like you're just suffering from the wild arrogance that corrupts so many scientists.
Humans are such weak creatures. No matter how much they trust one another, the tiniest speck of suspicion can destroy it all. Look at how the Snatcher problem has caused such wild unrest. No matter how much science advances or how high we set our ideals, we eventually begin to suspect each other, to hate each other, and then to kill each other. The Snatchers are nothing more than a tool for bringing out this reaction. I am simply using the Snatchers to elicit the true nature of the human animal. I think this experiment has shown me the limits of human society. I sincerely doubt it will be able to reach any greater level of prosperity on its own. If human society ever hopes to reach greater heights, what is needed is an absolute leader, a firm ruler who isn't affected by these trivial episodes of mistrust.
You're crazy if you think people would ever obey Snatchers.
Of course they wouldn't. But if they don't know, they cannot object. There has been a time in every age that the people have longed for a god to lead them. As long as they give the people no reason to suspect them, then they can easily become their gods, indeed, a new race of super beings. We are almost there. Once we perfect the artificial skin, Snatchers will transcend man to become this planet's true human beings.
But you'll never get your perfect skin now. Professor Modner is dead.
I no longer have any use for my father. I have a sample of the new skin he developed. Once I've analyzed it, I'll be able to make as much as I need. Or if need be, we could simply culture the keratinized cells, epithelial cells, and melanocytes in the quantities that we need.
What are you talking about? How could you get a sample of perfected artificial skin?
Why don't you take a look at this? We found this in the rubble of Queen's Hospital.
Random!
Oh, an acquaintance of yours?
He's a Snatcher?
That term isn't exactly accurate. This bioroid was constructed by my father without my knowledge. He modeled it after me in my youth. He built it right here in this facility. And not only that, he programmed it to destroy Snatchers. This bioroid caused me serious difficulties. It's designed and built far better than my Snatchers. The machine itself thought it was human. My father input memories for it all the way back to childhood. Those too were apparently mine. Haven't you yet realized? Random Hajil is Elijah Modner spelled backwards. How like my father, silly old man. He did virtually overnight what I could not do in 40 years of effort. Furthermore, he makes a bioroid so perfect, even the bioroid itself believes itself to be real. What's more, the cells of the skin he developed are self-replicating. Once in place, no further transplants or culturing is necessary.
Is he dead?
Its main and locomotive systems are completely shut down. It's just scrap now. But the artificial skin is being kept alive. This we need. With this, we can move to phase 2 of our plan of full-scale infiltration of the world's major nations.
The summit's already over. You'll never succeed.
What does the summit matter? Nothing holds us back now that we have this perfect skin. We can go anywhere we want, and there will be no way to tell us apart. I will have free control over the world. Nothing will be able to stop me. Politics and free thought will no longer have any meaning. My will alone will decide the course of human history.
You egomaniac. Do you think you can snatch the entire population?
There's a fully automated Snatcher factory under the Kremlin. Even as we speak, scores of new Snatchers are being born.
But no matter how hard you try, you won't be able to snatch the people's heart and soul. What do you hope to gain from this anyway?
Jamie, the human race is composed of fools. But I'm different. I will be its savior. Indeed, not just of mankind, but of all life on the planet.
I'm afraid that won't be possible.
Metal!
In 10 minutes, this church will be struck by a phased particle beam. I am guiding the beam from the attack satellite using GPS and 15 navigational satellites. The beam cannot miss. Everything in a 2 to 3 kilometer radius from me will be destroyed.
Stop this foolishness now. I will not have my research destroyed by some souped-up pocket calculator.
Metal! What happened at the summit?
The delegates, worried about the Snatcher menace, voted unanimously to allow the use of nuclear weapons on the city. The military is presently imposing a quarantine on Neo-Kobe.
What? Do they intend to kill everybody?
The populace is in a state of panic. However, they have agreed to lift the quarantine if this church is struck by the phased particle beam. This is our last chance. I will handle things here. Gillian, Jamie, you two must flee.
You insignificant mass of metal. You'll never...
One move and I detonate. Gillian, run!
Metal, this is crazy!
We can't let a single Snatcher get out of here. And this new artificial skin has to be destroyed as well.
I will not allow some talking scrap pile to get away with this. If you were the aiming point for the beam, then I'll just have you thrown out of here. Grab this little one and take him out of here. Cowardly little robot.
You always were a real pain in the butt.
What's that?
What? How did... You're supposed to be deactivated.
I don't go down that easy, old man.
Stop this foolish...
Shut up! Let's try to make our final moments peaceful, shall we? And you Snatchers, you touch the little guy and the old man's head comes off.
Random!
I've always hated being used. Why don't you watch the final act with me?
Gillian, you only have 5 minutes. The turbo cycle is just outside on standby. Use that to flee.
Let me go. I'm Elijah Modner. I'm your original.
I don't care if I'm an original or a copy or what. You and I are gonna die right here. If we both die, there won't be a copy anymore now, will there?
The stupid logic of a simpleton, of a machine.
Whatever it is, it's my will!
Machines have no will. Machines cannot sacrifice themselves.
We'll see about that.
You have 4 minutes. You must go. And don't forget to take care of the factory under the Kremlin.
Stop!
Gillian, even if these memories in my head are fiction...
Yeah, I know what you mean. Our memories of our time together are all too real, Random.
Gillian, you become one hell of a junker.
Gillian, it has been most recreational being your partner.
Oh, metal!
If you can, try to pick up the pieces for me, okay? Like we did for Little John.
Little John? Oh! Okay, Metal.
Hurry! You only have 3 minutes.
Thanks! Thanks, you two! Jamie, come on!
No! Don't let her go! No!
You pathetic old fool! You don't even know how to love someone!
You stupid machine! What is that idiotic grin supposed to mean?
By snatching you, I'm finally gonna get my real self back!
Random, there's less than 1 minute to go. Thanks to you, everything will be fine.
You don't owe me any thanks. Sorry to get you involved in such a big job. You did great. You're a hell of a junker.
3, 2, 1, here it comes!
Later, kid!
Now I'm going to pause it there because it's about 8:30, just in time for a quick break. There is a little bit more after this, probably going to be about half an hour's work, and then we can decide what to do afterwards. So let's just set up my holding screen. And yeah, I will be back in about 10 minutes. If you're enjoying this, please stick around and see what happens afterwards. Yeah, I will see you soon. Hello and welcome back to this continuation after the massive info dump of what just happened. Yeah, that was a lot of information taken, wasn't it? And also, you can see Kojima's penchant for really long cutscenes. And I think, because that was about 20 minutes, half an hour, and back in like the mid-90s, having cutscenes that long for games was almost unheard of. And actually that came from the old PC Engine version as well. That was 92. So having a fully voiced half an hour cutscene back then is, I mean, it's like putting like a 3-hour cutscene in a game today. Then again, I could actually see Kojima doing that. He put a 90-minute cutscene in one of the Metal Gear Solid games. I can't remember which one that was. I mean, I've never played those ones, but yeah, from what I hear, one of the endings literally was a 90-minute movie that people just sat there and watched going, oh, when's the next bit? But yeah, there's still more. There's still more to see. Yeah, yeah. And one of the things I love about it is, looking back at it now, I can see it still is fantastically written, especially for an English dub of a Japanese game. And for that in the mid-90s as well. The voice acting still stands up. I actually thought the voice acting wasn't going to stand up very well by the standards of today, because being at such an early point in... yeah, I'm into that. Considering how bad voice acting was in games back in the 90s, I mean, we all remember the original Resident Evil, even if we're not old enough to have been around when the game was released. I mean, yeah, the acting in that was terrible. I mean, Blue Stinger on the Dreamcast as well. By heck, the acting was bad in that. Yeah, but for this, in 94, to have acting that was this good for about a third of the game, I don't think any other game did that back then. There certainly were well-voiced games, but I don't think they were quite up to the same quality. Yeah. So anyway, let's get back into this game of the complete whiteout of the screen. It actually was almost hurting my eyes. I put all the lights on in the room because of how dark it's got now. But yeah, time to continue on.
So you're really going, aren't you?
It's our responsibility, too. Besides, if I go to Moscow, I may get some of my memory back. And if that happens, I'll be able to love you even more than I do now. Wait for me. I want to be with you, but first I've got to destroy this terrible factory of theirs. Jamie, when I get back, let's try living together again. What do you say?
13 Special Operations Squad and all Junker personnel report immediately for departure.
We'll be waiting for you, too.
Katrina! Mika! You're here, too?
You better be happy, Buster, with all these beautiful women seeing you off.
I'm happy you came. Let me introduce my wife.
Jamie Seed. I suppose it's a little odd introducing myself a second time, though.
What do you mean? You've never met them before, have you?
What are you talking about, Gillian? We're good friends.
Huh? Since when?
It's the first time I've met her in person, but I've spoken with her on the video phone a lot of times.
What? Have you guys been talking about me behind my back?
Ah, yes, this bit. I'm actually starting to remember, I think this section was added, or parts of this were added for this version specifically. I think they expanded on the ending for the Mega CD version from the PC Engine one, just like they did at the beginning. So I think, if you remember in the opener, there was a section with Jamie and Gillian on top of a building before Gillian went off to Junker headquarters for the first time. There was a talk between the two of them. That was a comic book originally that came with certain versions. I don't know if it was with the first versions, but the PC Engine version that I've got, because I do actually have a PC Engine, haven't used it much obviously because it's a Japan only system, but that had a comic book entirely in Japanese detailing that section. They did a fully animated version of it for the beginning of the game, and they expanded the ending. I don't know which parts of this ending they did expand, but I've got a feeling it's most of it. But yeah, let's have some let's have him look at the three of them. Really sorry for all the worry I've caused you. Katrina, this kid's had such a rough time. Yeah, she lost her mother to Snatchers, which sent her father into the spiral of just working harder and trying to catch them, and he ended up being killed by them as well. She lost everything practically overnight, and actually with the Japanese version, her being 14 makes the trauma even worse, and even then she's still only 18 for this one. Ugh. And Mika, the receptionist. Then again, she's more than just a receptionist, because she was an investigator herself. A lot of thanks. Right, let's have a chat with them. A chat with Hang on, Jamie's not listed. Chat with Mika. Trying to learn more about you is what got our relationship started. Oh, right, yeah, because... yeah, she did. Which does raise the interesting question of how long she'd been talking to Jamie at that point. Yeah. It could have just been one of those spur-of-the-moment things, but then again, you can go out with dinner with your colleagues if you're good friends. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And plenty of people I've been out with dinner with no interest in romance. Mostly. Anyway, yeah, so trying to get to know... Yeah, what she's saying there, trying to learn more about Gillian is what got her friendship with Jamie started. So, kind of indications of perhaps a three-way there with them. Wouldn't put it past Kojima to suggest that. Talk to Mika again. Before I knew it, we really became close. But I think this is going to be over a lot quicker than I thought it would. Our relationship has gone beyond just being friends. Oh, really, has it? How do you interpret that? I'd imagine just sisters. Beyond just friends. That sounds pretty good to me. Kojima. Or is it Kojima? Might not have been Kojima writing that. Talk to Katrina. Telling Mika about how lonely it was being home all the time. And she told me that Jamie was always worried about me, so I gave her a phone call. Okay. Even with Alice gone, really lonely. They're both so easy to talk to, like I've got two real sisters now. They're just like family now. Okay, now talk to Jamie. Don't care if you get your memories back or not. Why? Because getting your memory back will mean you'll remember all those things about me you hated. Things I hated. What are we talking about? Dealing with each other's imperfections? Part of being married. Part of what being married is all about, Jamie. Right, no memories will change how I feel about you. Talk to Jamie again. Good to hear you say that.
So have they finalized what they're going to do about Junker operations? I suppose this will end up being our last mission, huh?
Well, originally they were planning on disbanding the team, but now they've decided to keep us in business.
So that means...
That's right. We've been designated as one of the government's special police divisions. That puts us above the regular cops.
So the government has decided that crime by machines poses a bigger threat than crime by humans from here on out, huh?
They've chosen the new chief, too. So when you get back, you'll get to meet the new head honcho.
Well, it's comforting to know I've got a place I can come back to.
Captain Seed. Not a bad first rank for someone like me who's in the military.
Whatever you do, just come home safe, okay?
When you get back from this job, you still have a dinner date to keep with me, you know.
Don't worry. I won't forget my promises to either of you. Oops, almost forgot. Of course, I want to spend some private moments with my wife, too, huh? What's wrong, Jamie?
Harry and I will be waiting for you to get home.
That's Harry's hat.
We can do it this time, Gillian. Not some fake couple like before, but with love and trust.
I know, Jamie.
Take care, Gillian.
I'll see you, Jamie.
Wait! Wait for me! Take me with you, please!
You? Metal?
Yes, sir! We didn't have a good frame to work with, so this is just a temporary body. Just call me Metal Gear, Sega CD for now.
So they found your memory chip in one piece, eh?
Random protected it from the blast of the beam.
Random, huh? Wait a second. I've heard that sneeze somewhere before.
Really? I didn't hear anything. Anyway, I want to know if you'll take me with you.
Please, Gillian, please take me with you.
Hurry up and get on board, partner.
Yes, sir, Gillian.
Throughout history, suspicion has always bred conflict. The real conflict, though, resides in people's hearts. This conflict has just begun.
But there wasn't a sequel. They could have done one. There could have even been a follow-on and had like an Act 4. Showing what happens in at the Kremlin, but they never did. And Mel actually mentioned to me there was a re-release recently of the soundtrack for this on vinyl that's now selling for like ridiculous amounts. I think they didn't charge a huge amount for it, but now you'd be expected to pay upwards of £250, £300 for it. There's a YouTube video I found where they literally just had the vinyl record playing and they just had the whole thing go for the full hour and a half. But I can't remember if that was a remaster. Yeah, they could have made a sequel. Whether they would have been able to make a game as big as this one without really expanding things, like suggesting that Snatcher silos have been set up in other places around the world that had to be investigated, which could have got a bit formulaic. Because essentially the only thing to really happen is what happens back in Russia, at Moscow and the Kremlin. So I'm not sure how much they would have been able to do. But yeah, I remember loving the artwork for this ending as well. Yeah. The work that went into this version, because they had to port it from PC Engine, which had a 256 colour palette. The Mega CD is limited to 64 colours. I think there is a way you can get 103. I don't know how they got to that number, but it's a lot more limited in colours, and they did a fantastic job of getting the high colour artwork through to a lower colour content. Because they basically had to cut down to a quarter of the number of colours. And the styling, fantastic. In some ways I can't praise this port enough. One thing I did notice, however, is this is the American version I'm playing here, because this one runs at 60 FPS. I played the European version, which runs at 50 FPS, the difference between NTSC and PAL. Now, in America, the Mega CD is known as the Sega CD, whereas in Japan and Europe it's known as the Mega CD. Now, when Metal turned up, he called himself Metal Sega CD. Now, I remember the version I played, he said, I'm Metal Gear Mega CD. So they actually recorded the different dialogue for the different versions. Yeah, and this music is sending me back as well, because it's been such a long time since I've heard this. It's got to be between 15 and 20 years since I played this through. Yeah, so yeah, that ending came a lot quicker than I anticipated. But yeah, this is a game that a lot of people will likely never get to play because of how rare it is. Yeah, and the tight story as well. There wasn't a lot that they could have done with the final act. That was one issue that I always found. The final act is so much shorter compared to the others, and it's like the first two acts that took me 3 streams to get through. Yeah, the final act, including the credits, I'm not technically, I've still got nearly an hour to go for the kind of time frame I usually do for the streams. So yeah, so I think I might actually be finishing this stream a little early. Yeah. I don't think he did, because the follow-up to this was a game called Police Noughts, which is a much bigger game. I mean, that game was on 3 CDs for the Saturn and PlayStation, but that never got an English translation. There was a fan patch, which I have downloaded, and I do have ready on a Saturn emulator to play at some point, but that game's very, very different. Whether it links in with this, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure where the Police Noughts fit in, because I don't know whether it sits in the same universe or not. What I do know about the story with that one is you've got the police officer named Jonathan, I can't remember his last name, but he was part of a group of space police force that were called the Police Noughts, and they I'll pause emulation there. I think that's a good point to stop the game. I can't remember if there's a bit more, I'll find out later. But yeah, he, for some reason, I can't remember the details, he gets put into cryostasis for some years, and he comes out like 20 years later. All the people he knows are older, many of them retired, and he still believes in the Police Noughts, even though they've been disbanded. And he kind of goes into an investigation with things going on. So, and if Police Noughts is a sequel to Snatcher, then I think I would know about that, because everything I've seen so far suggests that they're kind of separate. Yeah. Actually, I think it is set before Snatcher as well, because Snatcher was taking place in 2046. And I think Police Noughts is meant to be like 2026. So, yeah, but that's going to be for another stream. Actually, let's just let the emulation carry on, because I can't remember if this is the last screen. It seems to be waiting. Ah, there we go. Press start, and it. There we go. Back to the main screen. So yeah, yeah, that game, I can't remember how long it took me to complete the first time I played through. I think because I was still trying to figure everything out, it may have taken me about 12 hours, I think. But yeah, that is one of my favourite games from my youth. Because as I say, it came out in '94, I was 13 at the time. And it was a few years later when I found it. It was a rental store back where I grew up. I have no idea how many times I rented it, but when the rental store stopped stocking Mega CD games, I asked the guy what he was going to do with the games, and he said he was thinking of selling them. I asked him if he still had Snatcher, and he said yeah, and I asked him how much he wanted for it, and I got it for £5. Now, I'm £500 to £800. I mean, there are some copies people are asking over £1,000 for now. Yeah, but considering how much money I paid, I think it was about £3 to rent it for a weekend. I dread to think how many times I rented that game. I probably paid for the game on its original release price, which back in those days would have been about £30, I think. But I'm glad you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed going back to it. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of an early end for this stream. There's not really enough time to switch to anything else. I'm going to be trialling my new microphone next week, so I'm going to be doing a one-off game. I haven't decided exactly which game I'm going to do. There's one I'm thinking of, which will be an interesting one to play through, because I've never actually beaten it. I'm not sure if I'd beat it on one stream. Thanks. And there's another one I'm thinking of, but if I did stream that one, it would be a copyright claim nightmare because of the amount of licensed music that's in it. So I'll have a think about a few other ones. What I think I might do is I'll prep a video that I'm going to link in with OBS. So I'll make next week's stream a mystery game. So we start up. I don't know what category I'd put it in to begin with. I might have to do it as just chatting, just to begin with, and I'll do my intro, say hi to everybody, and then I'll switch to the video playback, and you'll get to see that, and that will show which game I'm playing. And then I'll change the stream details mid-stream, because I think that'll be an interesting thing to try out. just have a little bit of fun. There's quite a few games I could do that with, especially these older ones that have what are called attract screens. And the reason they're called attract screens is back to the arcades, where the screen and all the noise that comes out of it needed to attract people to the game. So they called it the attract mode. This is where if the game is left running for a certain length of time, it switches into a demo. And the idea was just to make the games as bombastic as they possibly could to try and get people's attention. A lot of the fighting games like Street Fighter were really, really good at doing that. And it's actually something that games continued to do in a sense right up until, I think it was probably maybe the PS3, Xbox 360 era. Because there's one or two games on the PS2 that I'd like to stream at some point that actually have attract video modes, and also shooter games, shoot 'em ups. I think they still do that even now, even if they never go to arcades. But hopefully everyone who's been watching is enjoying that. The VOD for this is going to be up on my YouTube on Sunday. I'm trying to make that a regular thing. Sunday midday GMT I'm setting them for. I'll do the video editing for it to take out the break and the holding screen sections, just so it's a more concise video and you don't have to fast forward through sections. I'll do the editing and uploading tomorrow, being Saturday, and then schedule that for Sunday lunchtime, 12 o'clock GMT. There's not going to be an edited version of these videos like I did for Dragon Age, because there's no bit of pausing where I'm trying to read the dialogue options and then do the voice for them. Yeah, hopefully I shall see some of you next week. Being a single game, that'll be a good test for my new microphone. Hopefully a lot clearer as well, because at the moment I've got like plus 25 decibel gain on the microphone, this just for it to be the volume it is now, and everything else in Windows is set to the max. And when I talk on Discord, I think everyone's got my volume at like 200%, and even then they can they struggle to hear me sometimes. So yeah, I won't be using this microphone any longer, because it's slightly annoying. I don't know whether it's a driver issue or a Windows issue. Apparently it's Windows making things really quiet for some safety audio reason. But nobody seems to know what the problem is, and nobody seems to know how to fix it. So, whole new microphone. But it has mean that I've picked up a really nice microphone. It's the HyperX Quadcast, just the red one, not the multicolour one. I don't really feel the need for huge amounts of RGB. I find it a bit too much. But anyway, I'm waffling on here. So, let's set my finishing screen. And actually, let's see if there's anyone on to raid. No, nobody that I follow is on right now to be able to raid. So, yep, that is going to be the end of the stream. Anyone watching on YouTube, I hope you've enjoyed these videos as much as I've enjoyed recording these streams. Yeah, we're going to start delving further into some of my games that I've played from my past and ones that I never got round to playing as well. So, yeah, I think I might make that the thing for my channel, just going through older games. I've been enjoying that so far. I've got quite a few games I can think of that are going to be fun to do, especially ones doing silly voices with. I'll have to bring that back for a game at some point. But yeah, hope you have a good weekend, and I shall see you again next week. Bye.